My name's Jake Mitchell. I'm 34 years old. And on March 15th, 2024, I died when my jet went down. I'd been flying for the Navy for 12 years, married my high school sweetheart, Emma, and we had 2 kids, Lily, age 8, and Sam, age 5. I was stationed on the USS Ronald Reagan, and honestly, I thought I was living the dream. Flying jets, serving my country, providing for my family. I worried about normal stuff. Would I make it home for Lily's soccer games? Could we afford that bigger house Emma wanted? Just regular dad worries. That morning started like any other patrol mission. Routine reconnaissance over international waters. The sun was just coming up, painting the ocean this beautiful orange color. I remember thinking about how I'd tell the kids about seeing the sunrise from 30,000 feet. I was thinking about pancakes, actually. Emma always made pancakes on Saturday mornings, and I was missing another weekend at home. Then everything went wrong in seconds. My instruments started going crazy, warning lights everywhere. The engine began making this grinding sound I'd never heard before. I tried to radio back to the carrier, but all I got was static. The stick felt heavy in my hands, like the plane was fighting me. Then I smelled smoke. "Mayday, Mayday," I called out, but nobody answered. The plane started spinning. I tried everything I knew, every emergency procedure, but nothing worked. The ocean was rushing up at me so fast. I reached for the ejection handle, pulled it with everything I had, but nothing happened. The ejection seat was dead. In that moment, I knew I was going to die. I thought about Emma's laugh, about Lily asking me to read her one more story before bed, about Sam's gap-toothed smile when I came home from deployment. I wasn't scared of dying, I was heartbroken that I'd never see them again. The last thing I remember was the sound of metal tearing apart and water rushing in. Then, silence. But I wasn't gone. I was floating above the wreckage, watching my plane sink into the dark blue water. I could see my body still strapped in the cockpit, and I felt this strange sadness for that guy down there, like watching a movie of someone else's life ending. I wasn't in pain. Actually, I felt more peaceful than I'd ever felt in my whole life, like every worry I'd ever carried just melted away. The ocean looked so beautiful from where I was floating, crystal clear and endless. That's when I heard the voice. "Jake." I turned around, and there he was, Jesus. I know that sounds crazy, but I knew it was him immediately. Not because he looked like the paintings in church, he didn't really. He was this incredible light that somehow had the shape of a man. But his face was kind, and his eyes held every good thing I'd ever felt multiplied by 1,000,000. His voice was gentle, but it filled everything around me, like hearing your father's voice when you're 5 years old and scared, but knowing everything's going to be okay. "Lord," I whispered. I'd never been super religious. Emma took the kids to church sometimes, and I went on Christmas and Easter, but I wasn't what you'd call a believer. "Not really." He smiled, and I started crying. Not sad tears, but like when you come home after being gone for months and months, like relief and joy all mixed up together. "You're safe now," he said. I wanted to ask him 100 questions, but all I could do was stare at him. Being near him was like being plugged into pure love. Every cell in my body felt complete. "Am I dead?" I finally managed to ask. "Your body is," he said, "but you're more alive than you've ever been." He reached out, his hand, and when I took it, I felt this warmth spread through me that was better than every good memory I'd ever had. We started moving, not walking exactly, but traveling together through what looked like space filled with stars. "Where are we going?" I asked. "I want to show you something," he said. Suddenly we were standing on what looked like a mountain, but everything around us was made of light. I could see the whole earth below us, spinning slowly, and it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. "This is what I see when I look at your world," Jesus said. "Every person I created, every nation, every heart beating with the life I gave them." I watched the earth turn, and I could see lights pulsing all over it, millions and millions of tiny lights. "Those lights are prayers," he explained. "Every time someone talks to me, every time they call out my name, it creates this light." I saw the lights everywhere in America, in Europe, in Africa, South America, all over Asia. It was breathtaking. But then I noticed something that made my heart sink. There was one huge area that was almost completely dark. Very few lights, scattered and dim. "China," I said. Somehow, knowing exactly what I was looking at, Jesus nodded, and I could feel his sadness. It was like watching a parent look at a sick child. "Over 1 billion people?" he whispered. Most of them have never heard my name spoken in love. Their government has tried to erase me from their hearts, from their schools, from their families. I watched that dark expanse, and I felt something I'd never experienced before: God's heartbreak. It was overwhelming, like grief for every person who didn't know they were loved by their Creator. "But Lord," I said, "I'm just a pilot. What does this have to do with me?" He turned to me, and his eyes were filled with this fierce love that took my breath away. "Jake, a war is coming, not just between nations, but between darkness and light. China's leaders don't just want to control their own people, they want to control the world. They want to make every nation like them, empty of me." He waved his hand, and suddenly I could see scenes playing out like a movie in front of us. Chinese military forces, ships, planes, missiles. But it wasn't just weapons I was seeing, it was something darker, like shadows moving behind everything, controlling things. "Spiritual forces," Jesus explained. "The enemy has built strongholds there. He uses fear, control, and godlessness to keep my children trapped, and now he wants to spread that darkness everywhere." I saw America, and I watched as those same shadows tried to creep in. They moved through universities, through government buildings, through media companies. Wherever people stopped praying, wherever they pushed God out, these shadows grew stronger. "They're already here, aren't they?" I asked. "Yes," Jesus said sadly. "The enemy doesn't need armies when he can change hearts. When people stop believing in me, they start believing anything else. They become easy to control." I felt sick watching it. My own country, the place I'd spent my whole career defending, was being attacked from the inside, and most people couldn't even see it happening. "What can I do?" I asked. "I'm just one person." Jesus smiled, and that smile was like sunshine after a storm. "Jake, do you see that light?" He pointed to a small but bright light pulsing in what I knew was my hometown in Ohio. "That's Emma," he said. "She's been praying for you every single day since you deployed. Her prayers have protected you more times than you know." I started crying again. Emma, my sweet Emma, who I thought was just going through the motions at church. And this one, he pointed to two smaller lights right next to hers, Lily and Sam. Lily prays for Daddy every night before bed. Sam is still learning the words, but his heart speaks to me perfectly. I was sobbing now. My family had been covering me in prayer, and I'd never even known. "Prayer is the most powerful weapon in this war," Jesus continued. "When my people pray, darkness has to flee. When they pray for their nation, strongholds crumble. When they pray for their enemies, hearts change." He showed me more scenes. I saw groups of Christians in underground churches in China, praying quietly in hidden rooms. Their lights burned so bright they lit up whole cities. I saw American believers praying in their homes, in churches, in small groups, and every prayer sent ripples of light across the darkness. "The Chinese government fears this more than any nuclear weapon," Jesus said. "They know that if their people discover my love, their control is over. That's why they work so hard to stop it." "Lord," I said, "I want to help, but I don't even know how to pray. I mean, really pray." He put his hand on my shoulder, and I felt peace wash over me. "You don't need fancy words, Jake. You just need to talk to me like you're talking now. Tell me what's on your heart. Ask me to protect your family, your nation, the people who don't know me yet." He paused and looked at me with such tenderness. "And pray for China, Jake. Pray for those billion souls who are trapped in darkness. Pray that my light would break through their government's lies. Pray that my love would reach them." I felt this fire start burning in my chest. Not anger, but passion, like I'd just been given the most important mission of my life. "I will," I promised. Jesus nodded, then his expression grew serious. "There's something else you need to know. The physical war is coming too. China's leaders think they can win by force what they can't win through control. They're planning something that will change everything." He showed me ships, thousands of them, gathering in the South China Sea. Not just Chinese ships, Russian ones, North Korean ones, Iranian ones. A massive fleet. "When?" I asked. "Soon," he said. "Sooner than your leaders realize. They're going to strike when America feels safest. But Jake, the real battle isn't for territory or power. It's for souls. Every person who finds me before that darkness spreads is a victory that echoes through eternity." I watched the scenes, and I felt both fear and hope at the same time. Fear for what was coming, but hope because I knew who wins in the end. "Will we be ready?" I asked. "Those who are praying will be ready," Jesus said. Those who know me will have wisdom and protection, but many will be caught off guard because they've forgotten that this is a spiritual war first. He turned to me, and I could feel that he was about to say something that would change everything. Jake, I'm sending you back. My heart dropped. I didn't want to leave. Being with him was like being home for the first time in my life. The peace, the love, the absolute security of being with my Creator, I never wanted it to end. Please, I begged. Can I stay? I don't want to go back to all that worry and fear and pain. He smiled with such compassion. I know, son, but Emma needs you. Your children need their father, and your country needs warriors who've seen what you've seen. Tears filled my eyes. I'm scared, Lord. What if I forget? What if I go back and get caught up in everything again? He placed both hands on my face, and I felt his love pour into me like liquid light. You won't forget, he promised. Every time you pray, you'll remember this moment. Every time you feel lost, call my name, and I'll remind you who you are. You're my son, Jake. You're part of my army now. He showed me one more vision. I saw myself back home with Emma and the kids, but now I was different. I saw us praying together as a family. I saw myself talking to other military families about prayer. I saw small groups of people gathering in our living room, interceding for the nation. This is your real mission now, Jesus said, not just flying planes, but teaching my people how to fight the real war. Prayer isn't just words, Jake, it's warfare. Every prayer weakens the enemy's grip. Every prayer opens heaven's door a little wider. I felt this incredible mixture of sadness and excitement, sad to leave him, but excited about this new purpose. Will I see you again? I asked. He laughed, and it was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. Jake, I'm with you always. You just forgot how to see me. Now you'll remember. He reached out and touched my forehead, and I felt something like electricity flow through me. Go now, he said, and remember the darkness looks big, but my light is bigger. China's government thinks they're in control, but they're just pawns in a game they don't understand. I'm moving in their nation, even now. Secret believers, underground churches, people who risk everything just to whisper my name. The mountain of light started to fade, but his voice remained clear. Tell my people to pray for China like never before, not prayers of anger or fear, but prayers of love. Pray for the leaders to have dreams and visions of me. Pray for the underground church to be bold. Pray for a great awakening that no government can stop. I felt myself being pulled away from him, and I reached out desperately. I love you, Lord. And I love you, son. Now, go be my light in the darkness. Everything went black. The next thing I knew, I was gasping, choking on salt water. My lungs felt like they were on fire. I was floating on the surface of the ocean, somehow outside of my plane wreckage. Above me, I could hear helicopters. There, I see someone in the water. Voices were shouting. Rescue swimmers splashed down around me. Strong hands grabbed my life vest and pulled me toward a basket. Sir, can you hear me? Sir, stay with us. I was conscious, but barely. As they lifted me up toward the helicopter, I kept trying to tell them about Jesus, about what I'd seen, but I was too weak. All I could do was whisper, "Thank you, Lord. Thank you." Later, at the hospital on the carrier, the doctors couldn't explain it. I'd been underwater for over 20 minutes. My plane had sunk to 400 feet. By every medical standard, I should have been dead, not just dead, but brain dead from lack of oxygen. But here I was, not only alive, but completely healthy. No brain damage, no organ failure, no hypothermia. The head doctor kept shaking his head and saying, "This doesn't make medical sense." I knew it didn't make medical sense. It made God sense. When they finally let me video call Emma, she burst into tears the moment she saw my face. "Jake, you look different," she whispered. I smiled. "I am different, baby. I've got so much to tell you." "They said you were dead," she cried. "They said your plane went down, and there was no way you could have survived." "I didn't survive, Em. I died, but Jesus brought me back." She wiped her tears and leaned closer to the screen. "What do you mean?" And I told her everything. About meeting Jesus, about the vision of China, about the coming war, about the power of prayer. She listened with her mouth open, sometimes crying, sometimes laughing with joy. "Jake," she finally said, "Lily told me 3 nights ago that she had a dream about you talking to Jesus in a bright place. She said Jesus told her that Daddy was going to come home with an important message." Chills ran down my arms. Jesus had prepared my family before I'd even died. "Em, we need to start really praying. Not just dinner prayers or Sunday prayers, real prayer, war prayers, for our country, for China, for the world. I've already started, she said softly. The moment they told me your plane went down, I got on my knees and I didn't get up until they called to say you were alive. Mrs. Henderson from church came over and prayed with me. Then the Johnsons came. By the end of the night, there were 15 people in our living room interceding for you. I felt Jesus' presence so strongly in that moment. He was already working, already building his army of prayer warriors. 3 weeks later, I was home. The Navy gave me medical leave while they investigated the unexplained circumstances of my survival. I didn't mind. I had work to do. Emma and I started a prayer group in our living room, just us and a few neighbors at first. We prayed for our military, for our leaders, for wisdom in these dark times. But most importantly, we prayed for China. We prayed for the people there who didn't know Jesus, for the underground churches, for God to move in ways that no government could stop. Word spread. Other military families started coming, then civilians. Within 2 months, we had over 60 people meeting in our church sanctuary every Thursday night. We called it Warriors on Our Knees, and the craziest thing started happening. People began having dreams and visions. Sarah, a Navy wife from down the street, had a dream about Chinese believers singing worship songs in a hidden cave. Tom, a retired Marine, woke up one night with a clear word from God to pray for specific Chinese cities by name, cities he'd never heard of. My kids started praying too, really praying. Lily would pray for the children in China who don't know Jesus loves them. Sam, who could barely say the words, would lift his little hands and say, Jesus, help China. I started speaking at other churches, other military bases, sharing my testimony. At first, I was nervous. I mean, how do you tell people you died and Jesus gave you a mission to pray for America's biggest enemy? But every time I spoke, something powerful happened. People didn't just listen, they were changed. Hardened soldiers would weep when I described Jesus' heartbreak over the Chinese people. Mothers would commit to waking up early to pray for underground churches. Teenagers would ask how they could join the prayer war. 6 months after my death and resurrection, something incredible happened. A friend in military intelligence showed me a classified report. Christian activity in China was increasing at an unprecedented rate. Underground churches were multiplying faster than the government could shut them down. Chinese believers were getting bolder, sharing their faith despite the risks. Jake, my friend said, we're seeing reports of mass baptisms in rural areas, house church networks spreading through the cities. Even some government officials are secretly converting. I smiled. Jesus had told me he was already moving there. Our prayers weren't starting something new, they were joining something God had already begun. But the warnings were coming true too. Intelligence reports confirmed massive military buildups in the South China Sea. Satellite images showed unprecedented naval activity. Our analysts were starting to use words like imminent threat and preparation for conflict. The spiritual war and the physical war were both intensifying. Just last month, I was transferred back to active duty. My commanding officer pulled me aside before my first mission briefing. Mitchell, he said, I don't know what happened to you out there, and frankly, I don't want to know. But I've never seen a pilot come back from the dead with such clarity and purpose. Whatever you learned, it's made you a better officer. I nodded. Thank you, sir. There's something else, he continued. My wife started attending one of your prayer meetings. She came home different, Mitchell. Started praying for our family like never before. I don't understand it, but I can't argue with the results. He paused, looking almost embarrassed. Would you pray for my next deployment? I mean, really pray? Absolutely, sir, I said. But you can pray too. God doesn't just listen to pilots. He listens to anyone who calls his name. That night, I knelt by my bed and prayed like Jesus had taught me. Not fancy words, just real conversation with my Creator. Lord, thank you for bringing me back. Thank you for showing me the truth about what's happening. Help me be faithful to the mission you gave me. Protect the believers in China. Give them courage and wisdom. Open doors that no government can shut. Then, I prayed for the war that's coming. I prayed for our military leaders to have divine wisdom. I prayed for protection over our nation. And yes, I even prayed for China's leaders, that God would give them dreams and visions, that their hearts would be softened, that they would somehow come to know the love of Jesus. As I prayed, I felt that same peace I'd experienced with Jesus on the mountain of light. No matter how dark things look, no matter how powerful the enemy seems, God is bigger, His love is stronger. His plans cannot be stopped. I want you to know something. Whoever you are watching this, if you feel helpless looking at what's happening in our world, you're not. You have the most powerful weapon ever created: prayer. When you pray, heaven moves. When you pray, darkness flees. When you pray, God's love reaches people in places you'll never go. Maybe you've never really prayed before. Maybe you think God doesn't hear you or care about you. I thought the same thing, but I was wrong. He not only hears, He's been waiting your whole life for you to talk to Him. You don't need special words. You don't need to clean up your life first. Just start talking to Him like I'm talking to you right now. Tell Him what's on your heart. Ask Him to protect your family. Ask Him to save our nation. Ask Him to reach the people in China and everywhere else who don't know His love yet. And here's what Jesus wants you to know most of all: He loves you. Not because you're perfect, not because you pray the right prayers or go to the right church. He loves you because you're His child. He died for you, He rose for you, and if you'll let Him, He'll transform your life in ways you can't imagine. The war is coming, friends. The darkness is spreading, but the light is spreading faster. Every prayer you pray pushes back the enemy's plans. Every time you call Jesus' name, His kingdom grows stronger. China's government thinks they can erase God from their people's hearts. They can't. Russia thinks they can intimidate us into submission. They can't. The enemy thinks he can steal this world from its creator. He can't. Because greater is He who is in us than he who is in the world. So pray. Pray like your life depends on it. Pray like your nation depends on it. Pray like the souls of 1 billion Chinese people depend on it. Because they do. My name is Commander Jake Mitchell. I died in the South China Sea and met Jesus face to face. He sent me back with a message: the battle is real, but the victory is already won. We just need to show up for the fight. And the fight starts on your knees. Will you join us?